Far beyond the edge of charted space, where stars glowed faint and lonely, there drifted a single human warship, its black hull catching the weak light of a distant sun. Like a silent shadow, it floated in the vast ocean of darkness, appearing fragile and weak to any eye that looked from afar, yet inside its metal heart there was no weakness, only purpose and patience. The ship had no escort, no fleet, no allies nearby. It looked isolated, it looked abandoned, it looked like prey to the kind of hunters who searched the edges of human space for weakness. The alien raiders, who prowled like wolves in the endless night, were always watching, always listening, always ready to strike. When they thought the prey could not fight back, they had learned to fear humanity's fleets. But a lone ship that was different, a lone ship was tempting. Hidden in the dark, the alien raiders watched the human vessel, their sensors painting its shape across their vision screens. They counted its weapons, they measured its power output, they studied its movements. Every detail told the same story to them. This was one human battleship, alone, too far from support, too far from reinforcements, too far from help. And that was exactly what they wanted. The alien commander smiled in the strange way of his kind, his silver eyes, narrowing with hunger. The prey had wandered into his field, and soon the hunt would begin. He spoke to his crew. Their language was harsh like metal scraping stone, yet their meaning was clear. This was the chance they had waited for. Humanity would bleed tonight, and their own people would cheer their return. Still, the human ship did not move. It drifted like a ghost, like it had no crew, like it had no purpose. Only silence filled the void around it. Its engines burned low and quiet, its weapons powered, but idle, its signals empty to any ear that might listen. And to the aliens, this only added to the illusion of weakness. Why would humans risk sending one ship alone into dangerous territory? The alien captains asked each other, their voices filled with amusement and disbelief. They had learned in past battles that humans rarely made foolish mistakes. Humans were careful, humans were patient, humans struck with deadly precision. But even the strongest hunter could stumble, even the greatest fleet could misstep, and the aliens believed they had found proof of it in this lonely vessel. As the alien fleet shifted closer, their ships gliding like dark knives through the sea of stars, the human vessel remained calm. The hull showed no fear, the engines gave no sign of alarm, no distress calls reached across space, only the endless silence of waiting metal and shadow. And the aliens believed more and more that this was their moment. Inside the alien flagship, the commander rose from his throne of bone and steel. His voice roared across the bridge like thunder. He ordered the fleet to prepare. The trap was set, the prey was within their claws. Soon the void would burn with fire, and the name of humanity would tremble before them again. Still the question hung unspoken. Why was the human ship here? Why was it alone? Why did it not flee? Why did it not fight? But ambition drowned caution, greed drowned wisdom, and the aliens did not ask the question aloud. They only thought of victory. They only dreamed of glory. The human vessel remained steady, its crew hidden from alien sight, their hands steady on controls, their eyes sharp and focused. They did not tremble, they did not speak loud. They only waited with the silence of soldiers who knew their role, who knew that patience was sometimes the sharpest weapon of all. From the outside, though the story looked simple, one ship against many prey, against hunters' weakness, against strength, the aliens licked their lips with cruel hunger. They wanted blood, they wanted proof, they wanted triumph, to return to their home worlds with trophies and stories of the day. They humbled humanity in the dark. The stars around the ship seemed to grow colder as the alien fleet spread in a wide circle, their ships weaving like a net of blades. Every escape route was cut, every direction closed. The human ship was now trapped inside their wall of fire, and they believed there was no hope left for it. The alien commander raised his arm. The signal would soon be given. The weapons would soon roar, fire would soon rain, and the lone human ship would become broken wreckage, drifting silent forever in the endless dark. Yet as the moment drew closer, as the alien crews cheered and sharpened their claws, as their weapons hummed with power, something deeper stirred in the silence, something unseen, yet waiting, a shadow behind the shadow, a secret not yet revealed. The alien fleet did not see it, they could not hear it. They only saw what was before them, the fragile-looking vessel, the single target, the easy kill, the bait that looked so sweet and harmless in the middle of the night. They did not know that in this silence there was a trap sharper than any blade they could carry. They did not see that the calmness of the human ship was not fear, it was control. It was a hand holding back the storm until the right second, until the right signal, until the perfect strike. The alien commander shouted the word that unleashed the fire, and space lit up with the first wave of destruction. Energy beams tore through the void, torpedoes flew with trails of burning light. The human vessel shook under the storm, the shields flared bright. But the ship did not fall, not yet, not at all. It endured, it waited, it simply held its ground. And in that moment, in the opening of battle, when the aliens thought victory was already theirs, when the prey seemed ready to break apart, the silence inside the human ship was broken by a single voice, steady, cold, and certain hold until the signal. The humans were not afraid, the humans were not surprised, the humans were waiting for this very moment. And as the alien fleet closed tighter around them, the true game had only just begun. The alien fleet closed its circle tighter and tighter around the lone human ship, their dark vessels sliding into position like blades around a single throat. Each engine trail left a faint scar of light across the void, their weapons glowing hot with power and hunger, their crews ready to strike and tear and feast. On the bridge of the alien flagship, the commander raised his clawed hand, the gesture sharp and final, his silver eyes glowing with victory before the battle had even begun. His voice thundered through the comms of his fleet: fire upon the prey, leave nothing standing, let the wreck be our trophy, let the stars remember the day we brought down humanity's pride. A storm of fire was unleashed, beams of white energy cut through the endless dark, torpedoes streaked like falling stars, missiles hissed through space with burning trails. The lone human ship stood at the center of it all, shields flaring bright under the rain of destruction, its black hull trembling, but still unbroken. The aliens cheered, thinking the fight already theirs, their voices harsh, their laughter cruel across the comms of their ships. They mocked the humans, they mocked their weakness, they mocked the very idea that one ship could resist the fury of many. Yet inside the human vessel, there was no panic, only the steady rhythm of soldiers who knew what they were doing. The bridge was quiet, but every eye was sharp, every hand was firm. They heard the hull groan, they felt the ship shudder, but their calm remained because their orders had been clear: hold until the signal, wait until the trap was ready. The alien commander leaned forward upon his throne, his claws tapping the metal armrest with cruel excitement. He demanded to know why the human ship had not yet broken, why it had not yet split apart under the fire. He snarled at his captains. He demanded they push harder, strike harder, unleash everything until the prey was ashes floating in the void. Another wave of fire poured into the human vessel, the void around it blazing with explosions, but still the ship endured. Its shield screamed under the weight of attack, its armor scarred and burned, yet it held position like a rock in the storm, like it had nowhere to run and no reason to flee. The alien crews were confused. Some whispered that maybe the humans had laid a trap, maybe there was more than they could see, but their commander silenced them with rage. He would not hear of human cunning, he would not hear of human tricks. To him the sight was simple: one against many prey, against predators, the outcome already decided. Still the human ship did not answer with fire, still its guns remained cold, still its engines did not flare for escape. Instead, it floated as though waiting for something greater, waiting with patience that gnawed at the nerves of even the most eager alien captains. On the lower decks of the alien fleet, boarding crews prepared their craft, sharp talons of steel and fire that would dig into the human hull. They sharpened their blades, they readied their claws, they howled for blood. They wanted to cut open the metal shell and drag out the human crew alive. They wanted screams, they wanted trophies. The alien commander allowed it with cruel laughter. He wanted to humiliate humanity, not just destroy them. If he could drag survivors back in chains, it would be a victory that would echo across 100 star systems. So he gave the order to ready boarding craft to strike once the prey had been softened enough. Meanwhile, deep inside the human ship, the crew heard their captain's voice steady and clear like steel: do not fire until the signal, hold your ground, remember the plan. Every soldier, every pilot, every officer answered with silence, but inside their hearts burned with the same cold fire. They knew what they were waiting for, they knew what was hidden just beyond alien sight. The aliens drew closer, their ships now so near their weapons, lit the hull of the human vessel in constant glare shadows, flashing across the metal surface like waves of fire. They believed the prey had no chance now, their claws inches away, their boarding craft hungry to leap forward. And yet, even as the aliens prepared their final step, the human vessel pulsed with a strange energy, faint, almost invisible, a signal sent into the dark, not a cry for help, not a call of weakness, but something else, something the aliens did not understand, something that rippled across the black like the breath of a hidden giant. The alien sensors caught the faint surge, but dismissed it. They told themselves it was only the dying gasp of a ship under siege, only the last flicker of human systems ready to fail. They laughed and pressed closer, their weapons glowing hotter, their boarding craft swarming forward like a tide of locusts in the night. The commander of the alien fleet rose once more from his throne, raising both arms high in triumph. He declared to his warriors, the prey is ours tonight. The humans will learn fear tonight. The stars will echo with our glory. His voice was met with thunderous cries across his fleet, warriors, howling crews, roaring weapons flashing like fire, ready to consume the last strength of the human vessel. The lone ship drifted steady and silent inside the tightening circle, its hull scarred, but not broken, its shield strained, but not fallen, its crew waiting with patience that felt almost unnatural, and at the heart of it all their captain stood, silent eyes fixed on the stars, knowing the moment was almost here, knowing the signal would soon change everything. The aliens laughed, they shouted, they prepared to strike the final blow. But what they could not see, what they could not hear, what they could not imagine was that every second of this battle, every shot they had fired, every step they had taken closer had been part of the plan. And as the alien commander gave the order for his boarding craft to launch, as they streaked forward toward the human hull like spears of flame, the trap that had been waiting hidden, silent, ready, began to stir in the dark. The alien boarding craft rushed forward, their sharp noses cutting through the void, their engines blazing like angry suns, their claws stretched, ready to pierce the skin of a human vessel. Behind them, the fleet roared with hunger, ready to watch the prey split apart and reveal the soft life inside. The human ship did not move, it did not fire, it did not run. Instead, it drifted with the same quiet patience as before, like a beast resting in the grass, waiting for hunters to come closer, its armor scorched, its shields flickering, but its heart steady and unbroken. Inside the alien flagship, the commander leaned close to a screen, his silver eyes narrowing. He could almost taste the fear he expected to see inside the human ship. He imagined the crew screaming, he imagined them begging, he imagined them hopeless, but his sensors showed only silence, no cries, no distress, no panic, only a strange calm that spread like a shadow through the void. Some of his captains whispered uneasy words. They said the humans should be resisting. They said the humans should be fleeing. They said something was wrong. But the commander silenced them with rage. His claws scraped the metal of his chair, and he declared that the prey was weak, that the prey was broken, and that soon their blood would prove it. Meanwhile, deep inside the human vessel, the crew sat at their stations, quiet and sharp, their hands firm on controls, their eyes locked on screens. They heard the alien craft approaching. They felt the hull tremble under each strike of fire. Yet they did not falter. They were waiting for the signal. They were waiting for the moment that would turn the hunters into prey. The captain stood tall at the center of the bridge, his voice steady like stone. He told his crew to remain calm, to remember the plan, to trust the silence that wrapped around them. He reminded them that this ship was not alone, that this moment was not what it seemed, that the patience of warriors was sometimes more deadly than the blades of fools. The alien boarding craft reached the human hull, their claws striking metal, their drills grinding into the armor, sparks bursting across the surface like tiny suns in the dark. The aliens cheered, believing they were about to breach. They imagined humans crawling from the wreck like insects. They imagined the hunt almost done. But the human crew did not scream, they did not fire wildly, they did not beg. Instead, they waited behind sealed doors, their weapons ready, their eyes steady, each soldier gripping his rifle, each pilot ready at controls, every heartbeat slow and firm like the ticking of a hidden clock. The alien commander grew restless. He demanded to see inside the human vessel. He demanded his spies show him the fear of the crew. But there was no fear to see, there was only calm, so sharp it felt like a blade pressed against his throat, though he did not yet realize it. He snarled at his officers. He ordered them to break open the ship faster, to cut through the walls and drag humans out in chains. But even as he shouted, his silver eyes flickered with doubt, because the silence of the prey was too strong, too perfect, too unnatural. Around the alien fleet, some captains began to feel it too, the sense that something watched them from the shadows, the sense that the void was not empty, the sense that perhaps the humans were not so weak after all. But ambition blinded them, fear of their commander silenced them, greed for glory drove them forward. The human captain whispered the words again, "Hold," until the signal his crew answered with nothing. But silence, silence, stronger than any shout, silence sharper than any blade, and that silence echoed through the ship like a drumbeat of war, not yet sounded, but waiting. The aliens cut deeper into the hull, claws biting metal, sparks raining drills, howling their ships, clinging like leeches to the side of the human vessel. The commander roared for them to break through faster. He wanted screams. He wanted blood. He wanted proof that humanity could fall. And yet behind those sealed walls, the human marines stood, ready, rifles tight, armor sealed, eyes cold. They knew the moment was coming. They knew that every second the aliens drew closer, they were tightening the noose, not around human throats, but around their own. The alien fleet pressed in closer and closer, their ships, now almost touching the human hull, their weapons burning brighter, their crews howling louder, the void lit with the blaze of their fury. But still the human vessel did not break, still it did not run, still it did not fire. The commander shouted once more to his fleet, "Drive harder, break them now." He demanded the final push, the last strike that would tear the human vessel wide open. But as the order spread through his ships, a faint signal pulsed through the dark again. Faint, but steady, the same signal the aliens had dismissed before. Some captains reported it again, their voices edged with unease. They said the pulse was not random. They said it was not a failing system. They said it was deliberate. But the commander silenced them with rage again, his claws dripping with pride and arrogance. He could not see what lay just beyond the range of his eyes. He could not hear the silent fleet that waited cloaked in shadow. He could not imagine that the humans had chosen this place, this moment, with purpose. On the human bridge, the captain spoke, once more, his voice cold as iron hold, until the signal and the crew answered with silence. Once again, the strange calm filled every corner of the ship. The aliens cut deeper, their claws screeching against human steel, their drills biting their weapons, pounding, and the commander rose from his throne, certain that triumph was within his claws. But in the void beyond the circle of alien ships, the dark began to shift, the silence began to stir, the trap began to awaken. The human ship shivered with a faint vibration, almost unseen, almost unheard. The aliens thought it was the last gasp of prey, but to the humans, it was the first breath of the storm to come, the calm before the fire, the silence before the roar. And as the alien claws dug into the hull, as sparks rained across the surface, as the commander shouted in hunger and glory, the silence of the human vessel remained steady like stone, unbroken, unshaken, unnatural. And it was that silence that would soon swallow the hunter's whole. The alien claws bit deeper into the human hull, sparks flying like streams of fire. Across the endless dark, their drills howled, their weapons burned, their warriors roared with hunger. Yet the human vessel remained cold and silent, its calm unbroken, its strength hidden beneath scars and flame. The alien commander stood tall on his throne, his silver eyes shining with the light of victory. He believed the prey was finished. He believed the silence of the humans was fear. He believed that glory was already his. He raised his arm to give a signal for boarding crews to breach and swarm the corridors like a flood of teeth and claws. But in that moment, the void itself trembled. A faint shimmer rolled across the stars like ripples on the surface of black water. The alien sensors caught it, but their minds dismissed it. Their pride blinded them, their greed deafened them. They told themselves it was nothing, a dying system, a broken shield, a final gasp of weak prey. The shimmer grew stronger, shadows bending across the void, light twisting, shapes forming where moments before there had been nothing, and from those shadows began to appear outlines of steel, outlines of wings, outlines of warships, silent giants, slowly rising from the darkness like predators revealing themselves at the perfect second. The first to see, it was an alien captain, his voice shaking with disbelief as he cried into the comms, "There are more ships." His words met with silence across the fleet. Then with nervous laughter then, with rage from the commander, who shouted that it was impossible yet before their eyes the truth unfolded and denial turned to fear. Dozens of human warships shimmered in a sight, their black hulls gleaming, their weapons already burning with deadly power. One after another, they revealed themselves, each one larger and deadlier than the lone vessel at the center, until the void was filled with the presence of an entire fleet. The alien crews screamed their pride, shattered their arrogance, crushed. They had believed they hunted one ship. They had believed they cornered one prey. But now they were the ones inside the cage. Now they were the ones surrounded. The circle they had built to trap humanity had become the circle that trapped them. On the bridge of the human flagship, the captain finally gave the order, his voice strong as iron unleashed the storm. And at once the silence ended. The hidden fleet roared to life, weapons, igniting engines, blazing missiles, screaming into the night, beams of light, tearing through the void like spears of the gods. The aliens tried to respond, their claws still sunk into the lone vessel, but it was already too late. Their formations broken, their lines scattered, their ships caught in the blast of human fire. The void turned into firestorms as vessels shattered and warriors screamed. The commander shouted for order, he shouted for retreat, he shouted for his ships to regroup, but his words drowned in chaos, explosions tearing across the fleet, panic spreading faster than his commands. His captains cried that hyperspace routes were blocked. They cried that human ships had cut off every escape. They cried that they were trapped with no way out. The boarding craft that had latched onto the human hull became tombs. Their warriors burned before they could even breach, their claws torn from the steel as shock waves ripped through them, their screams lost in the storm of battle. The lone ship at the center that had played its part as bait now came alive, as well, its guns blazing, its engines roaring, its calm turning into fury. It struck the nearest alien ships with precision, each shot a hammer blow, each strike a message. Humanity was never weak, humanity was never alone. The alien commander felt the ground tremble beneath his feet as his flagship took the first hit, fire roaring through its hulls, his silver eyes wide with a terror he had never known. He could not understand how humans had outplayed him, how they had hidden so many vessels in silence, how they had turned his own trap against him. Across the alien fleet, despair spread like fire. Some captains begged for mercy. Some tried to flee only to find their paths cut off by human steel. Some fought with wild rage, but their weapons fell short against the disciplined storm of humanity's fleet. Every alien scream became proof of the fatal mistake they had made. The human captain watched the battle with cold eyes. He did not cheer. He did not shout. He only spoke once more to his crew: strike without mercy, and the crew obeyed, their guns tearing apart ship after ship, their torpedoes breaking hulls like glass, their beams slicing through armor like paper. The aliens had thought themselves hunters, but they were prey caught in the jaws of a predator. They could never match. Their pride had blinded them, their arrogance had destroyed them. And now the stars themselves bore witness to their fall. One alien captain cried that the humans had tricked them, that the lone ship had been bait, that the silence had been a lie. But his words ended in fire as his ship split apart in a blaze that lit the void for 1,000 miles. The commander of the alien fleet tried to rally his warriors one last time, his voice breaking as he called them to fight for honor, to fight for survival, to fight for their people. But his fleet was already in ruins, his warriors broken, his voice drowned by the roar of human fire. The trap had been revealed, and once revealed, it could not be undone. It was not a single ship they had attacked. It was a fleet cloaked in shadow. It was a storm waiting to break. It was the hand of humanity stretching wide to strike down those who dare believe they were weak. The void that had once echoed with alien laughter now burned with alien screams. The pride that had once filled their hearts now shattered into dust. And in that moment the lesson was written in fire across the stars: never mistake human silence for weakness, never mistake human patience for fear, never mistake one ship for the whole of humanity. And as the battle raged, the humans pressed harder, their fleet moving with perfect discipline, every strike a lesson, every kill a warning. Their calm silence had ended, and now only fury remained, fury that would not stop until every alien vessel in the trap was broken and burning. The void burned with fire as the human fleet surged forward, their guns blazing, their engines roaring, their missiles screaming across the endless black. every human ship moved with perfect order, like pieces of a great machine, each strike calculated, each movement sharp, every second of silence before now exploding into a storm that shook the stars. The alien fleet that once surrounded the lone vessel now found itself surrounded instead. Their circle twisted their trap, broken their pride, shattered their vessels, slammed with wave after wave of human fire, their captains shouting, their warriors panicking, their claws gripping controls in desperation as their ships shook and cracked. The human flagship cut through the chaos like a spear of steel, its weapons tearing apart the nearest alien cruiser. In a single devastating barrage, the explosion ripped across the void, shards of fire flying in every direction, screams of alien warriors echoing in a nothing, their voices cut short by silence. The alien commander shouted through his comms, demanding his fleet hold the line, demanding they fight back, demanding they stand against the storm. But his words were lost in static as his ships fell one after another. The order he tried to build slipping away like sand in his claws. Human fighters launched from their carriers, small, swift ships, darting through the chaos like swarms of starlight. They weaved between alien fire, striking engines, striking weapons, striking bridges, their precision cutting deeper than any blade, their unity turning the tide even faster. The aliens fired back beams of green and red, slicing across the void, torpedoes streaking toward human hulls. But the humans moved with disciplined shields, flaring armor, holding formations, staying tight. Every strike met with equal fury, every wound returned with 10 times the power. The lone ship that had played bait at the center of it all now roared with vengeance, its weapons alive, its engines bright, its silence gone. It turned upon the very boarding craft that clung to its hull, ripping them apart. With point defense fire, marines inside, readying to strike as alien claws lost their grip and drifted into the abyss. The alien crews screamed across their comms, their voices filled with terror. They shouted that the humans had outsmarted them. They shouted that the trap had been for them. They shouted for their commander to guide them. But their commander's voice was shaking, his silver eyes wide with disbelief as his flagship shuddered under the hammer of human guns. He had believed humans weak. He had believed the lone ship an accident. He had believed glory was already his. But now he watched his fleet torn apart ship by ship, his warriors broken, his pride crushed, his very name turning to ash before his eyes. The human captain spoke calmly to his crew, every word sharp as iron. Strike, without pause, strike, without mercy. Let them know what happens when they believe humanity weak. His crew answered with fire, their guns blazing brighter, their missiles flying faster, their beams slicing deeper, the void itself glowing with the fury of their assault. Alien ships tried to flee, but found human destroyers already blocking their escape paths. Hyperspace lanes cut off their routes, closed their choices, gone every attempt to run, ending in fire. Every cry for retreat drowned in silence, as ships split and burned one after another. Some aliens fought with wild desperation, their weapons firing in blind rage, their screams echoing across the comms. But their fury met only with human discipline. Every strike returned with precision, every act of resistance crushed like stone under steel, until their rage turned into despair. The commander of the alien fleet finally cried out for retreat, his voice filled with fear. Retreat, retreat, retreat. But his own words came too late. The human fleet had already closed every gap. The storm had already swallowed his warriors, his command already meaningless as his captains died one by one, their voices fading in fire. The human marines aboard their carriers prepared for boarding operations, their dropships descending like iron fists toward crippled alien vessels. The marines ready with cold eyes and steady weapons, their silence unbroken, their resolve sharper than the blades of their enemies. The alien crews who saw them coming screamed louder than ever. They begged for help, they begged for orders, they begged for salvation, but none came. Their commanders broken, their fleet collapsing, their only future drifting in wreckage and fire. Every alien ship that tried to resist was struck harder. Every alien ship that tried to hide was found faster. Every alien ship that tried to beg was silenced. The humans showed no mercy. The humans showed no hesitation. The humans gave only fire and silence. The lone vessel that had played its part now moved alongside the fleet. Once more, its captain silent, his eyes fixed on the stars. He did not cheer. He did not smile. He only spoke once more cold and clear. This is the cost of arrogance. This is the price of believing humanity is weak. And his crew answered with silence, the silence of soldiers who knew victory was not glory, but necessity. The alien flagship shook with another strike, fire racing across its halls, warriors screaming within its walls. The commander clung to his throne, his silver eyes filled with terror as he realized the truth, realized his fleet was lost, realized his pride had doomed them all, realized the mistake that would echo through the stars long after his voice was gone. The counterattack raged on human ships, weaving through the wreckage, pressing the assault tighter, closing the circle that once belonged to the aliens, turning it into a cage of fire. The predators had become prey, the hunters had become the hunted, the proud had become the broken. In the void, there was no mercy, no pause, no escape, only fire, only screams, only silence. And above it all, the human fleet moved with perfect discipline, with perfect fury, with perfect silence, as the counterattack became a massacre and the lesson became carved in steel. The humans did not shout, they did not gloat, they did not mock their prey. They simply struck again and again, each blow a warning, each kill a message, each silence a shadow stretching wider across the void, a shadow that would haunt any who thought of striking humanity again. The void shook as human fire tore deeper into the alien fleet, their vessels burning, their warriors screaming, their formation collapsing under the weight of precision and fury. The storm was relentless, every human strike calculated, every movement ruthless, every second carving new scars in alien pride. The alien commander clung to his throne, his silver eyes wide, his claws trembling. He shouted for resistance, he shouted for retreat, he shouted for survival, but none of his words reached his broken fleet, his captains gone, his warriors scattered, his empire crumbling before him. Human destroyers surged forward, their guns hammering the alien lines, their beams slicing ships in half, their torpedoes igniting cores and fireballs that lit the dark like dying suns. The discipline of their assault unshaken, their silence colder than the void itself. The lone ship that had been bait now moved with fury beside its fleet, its weapons roaring, its engines blazing, its crew silent and sharp. Their patience now turned to wrath, their trap complete, their vengeance unleashed, every strike a reminder of the silence that had tricked their enemies. Alien cruisers tried to regroup, but human frigates cut through them like blades, small, swift vessels weaving between giants. Their fire focused, their precision flawless. Alien hulls split apart, their screams fading into static. Inside burning alien ships, warriors clawed at the walls, trying to escape corridors filled with smoke and fire. Their pride shattered, their courage gone. Some begged to flee, some begged for mercy. But there was no mercy waiting, only the endless storm of human wrath. Human carriers released another wave of fighters, small bright shapes, streaking through debris like arrows, each pilot calm, each strike perfect. They hunted engines, they hunted bridges, they hunted weapons, until the alien fleet bled from every wound, until every scream became weaker than the one before. The alien commander fell to his knees, his throne cracking beneath him, his voice shaking as he begged his gods for strength. But no gods answered him, no gods came to save him, only fire, only silence, only the humans who had outplayed him from the very beginning. Human marines launched from their dropships, descending upon crippled alien vessels like iron fists, their armor black, their rifles steady, their eyes cold. They stormed corridors with precision, moving like shadows, every step certain, every shot final. Aliens screamed in terror as marines cut them down, halls running red with their defeat. The alien flagship trembled under the storm, human warships surrounding it, guns pounding, shields collapsing, armor cracking. The commander begged his crew to hold the line, begged them to fight for honor, begged them not to flee, but their hearts were broken, their spirits crushed. They obeyed no longer. On the bridge of the human flagship, the captain gave his order, his voice steady and final, bring them down, and his crew obeyed, their guns unleashing fire, their missiles streaking, their beams tearing, until the alien vessels broke one by one, each collapse echoing like thunder across the stars. Some aliens tried to activate hyperspace drives, desperate to flee, but human ships jammed, every signal blocked, every path. Their desperation became despair, their despair became silence, as one by one they vanished in fire. The lone ship turned its fury upon the boarding craft still clinging to its hull. It tore them apart, with point defense weapons, shredding steel, shredding claws, shredding pride. The aliens who once dreamed of trophies now drifted lifeless into the abyss, their hopes lost, their arrogance punished. The alien commander screamed for vengeance, screamed for survival, screamed for anything to save him, but his flagship cracked beneath him, the decks shaking, fire rushing through its hulls, warriors dying around him. He saw his empire vanish in flames and knew it was over. Human marines stormed his vessel, their boots echoing through corridors, their rifles cold and sharp, their silence louder than any war cry. They moved with purpose, they cut through resistance like shadow and steel. Alien warriors fell before them, their courage lost, their claws trembling, their screams short and final. The commander rose for one last stand, his silver eyes blazing, his claws raised high. He roared his defiance to the humans who entered his hall, but they did not answer with words, they answered with fire, they answered with silence, they answered with the final blow that ended his voice forever. The flagship cracked apart, explosions bursting across its surface, fire roaring through its heart, the pieces drifting into the void like ashes of a fallen empire. The fleet that once believed itself mighty, now nothing but wreckage burning in silence. Human ships pressed on until no alien vessel remained, until the last spark of resistance faded, until the last scream turned to silence. Then, and only then, did their captain lower his hand, his voice calm and final enough, and the guns went silent. The storm ended, the void empty once more. Wreckage drifted across the stars, broken hulls, shattered steel, lifeless bodies, floating in endless night, the silence of victory heavy and cold, yet steady as truth, the truth that humans had never been weak, the truth that patience had been the blade, the truth that arrogance had been the fatal mistake. The human fleet regrouped, their ships sliding back into perfect order, their engines steady, their guns cooling, but ready, their silence unbroken, as they left behind the ashes of their enemies, their message carved across the stars forever. What had begun as an ambush had ended as a massacre. What had begun with laughter had ended with screams. What had begun with arrogance had ended with silence, and the silence belonged to humanity alone. The lone ship, scarred but unbroken, drifted at the heart of the fleet. Once more, its role complete, its purpose fulfilled, its silence transformed into victory, its scars a mark of patience, its endurance a symbol of strength. And in the eyes of every soldier aboard, it was not weakness, it was the trap that ended an empire. And so the final blow was struck, the lesson written in wreckage across the void. Never mistake the silence of humans for fear, never mistake their patience for weakness, never mistake their shadows for emptiness, for behind every shadow waits the storm, and when the storm comes there is no escape, only fire, only silence, only the final blow. The battlefield lay silent, the stars scattered like broken glass around the wreckage of a once proud alien fleet, their burning hulls drifting into nothing, their warriors now dust and echoes across the endless void. The human fleet floated in order among the ruins, their lines unbroken, their ships scarred but strong, their engines glowing like steady fireflies in the cold night, their silence deeper than any voice, their victory carved into the bones of the galaxy. The lone ship at the center bore the marks of war, its hull scarred, its paint burned, its steel trembling, yet it still stood proud, its crew alive, their eyes hollow with memory, but sharp with pride. They knew they had been the knife, they knew they had been the bait, they knew they had been the storm disguised in silence. Around them the void glittered with fire, the bodies of alien warriors floating lifeless, their claws curled, their eyes gone dark, their weapons useless, their empire reduced to whispers, no longer feared, no longer worshipped, only remembered as a shadow that burned too bright and died too fast. On the human flagship, the captain stood silent, his gaze locked upon the wreckage, his hands resting steady behind his back. He spoke no words, he offered no cheer. His crew did not shout, they did not sing, they did not smile, for victory was not joy, victory was weight, victory was silence heavier than defeat. Reports echoed through the fleet, marines returning from shattered alien decks, their armor scorched, their rifles black with smoke, their eyes carrying the same heavy silence. They spoke of broken warriors begging for mercy. They spoke of corridors filled with blood and fire. They spoke of pride that died in whispers. The admiral received their words, but gave no answer. He simply nodded, his eyes calm, his mind steady, for he knew this was not the end. He knew more would come. He knew the galaxy would whisper of this battle. He knew fear would spread like fire through alien stars. Among the crew of the lone ship, silence lingered. They sat at their posts, their hands steady, their hearts heavy, their minds replaying every strike, every scream, every moment. When patience became fury, when silence became storm, they did not see themselves as heroes. They saw themselves as survivors. They saw themselves as shadows that waited until the right moment to strike. The void itself seemed to honor them, the stars glowing brighter, the fire of wreckage fading into ash, the silence deeper than before, as if the galaxy held its breath, as if the universe itself bowed to the patience of humanity. Across alien worlds, whispers began. The survivors who escaped carried tales of the battle, their voices shaking, their eyes wide. They spoke of the lone ship that was never alone. They spoke of the trap that shattered fleets. They spoke of humans who waited in silence until it was too late. The story spread from star to star, from world to world, from empire to empire. Some laughed in denial, some trembled in fear, some swore vengeance. But all remembered the silence, all remembered the trap, all remembered the storm that came without warning. In the halls of human command, leaders listened to reports, their faces stern, their voices calm. They did not boast, they did not celebrate. They only prepared for the next war, for they knew the galaxy was watching. They knew the galaxy now feared them. They knew fear was both shield and weapon. The Admiral wrote his final message, a simple warning sent across the stars. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake silence for fear. Do not mistake shadows for emptiness, for behind them always waits the storm. And so the message spread, carried on waves of static, carried through broken channels, carried across the galaxy, until every race heard it, until every empire whispered it, until every star burned with the truth that humanity was no prey, humanity was no shadow, humanity was the storm. The wreckage drifted still, but the human fleet turned its engines, their lights glowing as they left the battlefield behind, leaving silence, leaving fire, leaving memory, leaving the lesson that would echo for ages, leaving only the cold truth that arrogance had been the fatal mistake. The lone ship followed its fleet, its scars glowing faintly in the light of distant suns, its crew watching the darkness ahead, their hearts heavy, but steady, their silence eternal. They knew they would be remembered. They knew their scars would speak louder than words. They knew they were the storm that had ended an empire. In the void where battle had ended, silence grew heavy. Silence became memory. Silence became history. And that history carried one truth: never again would the galaxy laugh at a lone human ship. Never again would they mistake silence for fear. Never again would they forget the storm that hides in shadows. And as the fleet vanished into the distance, as the wreckage burned into ash, as the stars swallowed the remains, the universe itself seemed to whisper the lesson in every corner of the dark. Silence is not weakness. Silence is waiting. Silence is the storm before the final blow. Silence belongs to humanity.